your notes on. Okay, here's the format of this test. I guess.
Wait, what?
Unless it's like cryptid or something.
But your name's on the thing.
She asked if you could write the name on the back, and I said yes. All right, so here, well, actually, I didn't say yes. Okay.
What? This? No, I'm recording it for the football players. It's for the football players. Yes.
Not yet.
Can you make me look really skinny?
I don't think I can do that.
And I don't want to.
You should have said you already.
All right, then I guess.
All right, can you just record me? Do you have to write really?
It's okay.
It's better. It's better.
Okay. All right, guys. So you ready?
Now there's pressure.
So here are what the columns mean. All right, the far left column is going to be the suffix or the prefix. And when we get to that specific one, I'll tell you whether it's a prefix or a suffix. Okay. The general formula. So if you look down at all of the things that are in the columns, you'll notice that they all have R's. R's stand in organic chemistry, and R stands for any hydrocarbon chain. So an R could be a CH2, CH3, it could be a CH3, CH2, CH2, or something like that, okay? The structure is just the general structure. Now, when I printed it out, on my screen it looked perfect, and when I printed it out, it's kind of funky. The O's kind of are in different places, okay? The compound type, so we've already done the hydrocarbons, but it takes up way more space than this little box is. So we're going to do today, we're going to do the alcohols, we're going to do the aldehydes, and we're going to do the halocarbons or the alkyl halides, which is down a couple of rows. And then I gave you just some properties or some uses of these organic compounds. These are the most commonly tested in an AP chemistry class. Okay, I know you guys aren't AP, but some of you will be, so that's why I'm introducing them. So today what we're going to do is alcohols, aldehydes, and alkyl halides. I'm going to start with the alkyl halides because they're really easy. All right, and most of what we're doing today should be really easy. I'm trying not to bombard you with too many difficult ones at the same time. All right, so let's do the alkyl halides. So the alkyl halides are organic compounds that contain a halogen. Okay, so they are going to be hydrocarbons plus a halogen. So what are our halogens? F, Cl, Br, and I. Make sense? So we are going to use, if you notice on the sheet for the alkyl halides, under the suffix or the prefix, that's going to be a prefix. So we're going to use the prefixes fluoro, chloro, bromo, and iodo. So fluoro, chloro, bromo, and iodo. Those are all going to be prefixes that we're going to use. And that's just like the branches. So when we said we had a methyl group, we're going to have a fluoro group, or a chloro, or bromo, or iodo group. And you name them the exact same way you do hydrocarbon branches. You have to use a number to say where they are. So, for example, I've got the general formula R, and then I had an X. And X indicates the hydrocarbon. I'm sorry, the halogen. So this is the halogen, and this is the hydrocarbon chain. Okay, halogen, hydrocarbon chain. So let's just do a simple one. What if I do CH3, CH, CH3, and on this one I put a chlorine. So think about, just for a second, just envision that that's a CH3. Envision that it's a methyl group. So this is a 3-carbon chain, and a 3-carbon chain is called prop. and they're all single bonded, so it's a propane. Okay, so that doesn't change. So it's a propane. But on this propane is a functional group called an alkyl halide, and it's a chlorine, so it's going to be a chloro. But just like everything else, I have to say where it is. So it's going to be a 2-chloropropane. All one words. So 2-chloropropane. Now, when you're typing these out, so you can see that it looked good on my computer, and then when I printed it out, the O, if you notice on the structures, the O's kind of went their own way. So when you're typing it out, it's easier to write it like this. It looks really weird, but it makes it a whole lot easier to type. So basically what we do is you put the functional group right after the carbon that it is on. So don't put this in the middle of the chain. This just means that it's a branch. Okay? So if I had, instead, I could do the same kinds of things that I did before. If I take this H off and I put a Cl here, take the H off, put a Cl here, I could either write ClCl, or I can write Cl in parentheses 2, meaning that there are 2 Cl's off of that carbon. And if I have 2 chlorines, how do I indicate that I have 2 chlorines? Di. So it's the same kind of procedure that we did before. And I have to say the number twice because they're both on 2. So it's going to be a 2,2-dichloropropane. Yeah.
So there's 2-chloropropane possible?
2-chloropropane?
Yeah. Is it chlorine dicompound?
Only if it's by itself.
Okay.
Now, I could do all kinds of things with these. You know, you can get a little crazy, but so just to give you some examples. Okay, so what did I put in there? You all see I have what's on the top? A methyl's on the top. See the methyl?
Yeah.
Okay, what else is in there?
Hexene.
There's a double bond here, good. And here I have a chlorine. Now, I could have just as easily written CH3, CH2, CH, CH3. I think that's hard to see for students because most of the time in a college book, it's going to look like this. So see how that CH3 is stuck in the middle? But that should be like a red flag to you. There's no way in the middle of a compound you're going to have a CH3. It would violate the octet rule. And have you ever seen carbon violate the octet rule? It doesn't. Okay? So I could have put it that way, but if I have these other things going on, I wouldn't do that. So I have 3 things that I have to take care of in the name of this. I've got a methyl, I have a chloro, and I have a double bond. Okay, so the double bond is always going to be a suffix. Okay, these other things are going to be prefixes. So a methyl and a chloro, C comes before M in the alphabet. It's the same kind of thing. And then I have a double bond that's an ene. So that's going to go at the end. So it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 carbon chain. So it's a hept. And it's an ene. And if I count here, I've got something on this bond right here. On this carbon right here. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. It's going to be 1, 2. So it's a 2 heptene. Because my double bond is from here to here. So it's from 2 to 3. So it's a 2 heptene. I always start with my chain and then I kind of work backwards. So what's going to go right before the 2? The methyl, right? Because at the very beginning is going to be the chloro because C comes before M. So where is the methyl? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be a 5-methyl. And then it's going to be a 1-chloro. So it's 1-chloro, 5-methyl, 2-heptene. Yes?
Can you explain again why it's a 2-heptene?
Sure. This is carbon 1, and this is carbon 2. If I were to spread that out a little bit, I'm going to take that H and this H, I'm just going to put them up so you can see it. So this is attached to that carbon, right? And it's attached to that carbon, and it's attached to that H. You have to get the octet rule in there so there's a double bond right there. So it's carbon 1, 2. So it's between
I did
carbon
the
2
double
and 3.
bond.
What's that?
I did the double bond.
Yes, that's what the E means.
Okay.
Okay? It's a double bond. That's kind of ugly. Okay. I can't see. Who raised their hand? Okay.
In the dichloropropane, where like the carbon that the 2 chlorides come off of,
Yes.
why do you use the H?
Because it can only have an octet. So if this is C, and there's a Cl here, a Cl here, a C here that has 3 H's, a C here that has 3 H's, the octet rule is around the carbon. There's no room for any H on there. Okay? It has to only have 8 electrons around it. Yeah,
So the functional group doesn't necessarily go first, it's just
correct.
alphabetical order.
Just alphabetical order. Okay? All right, any questions about these? These are really easy. It's just like a branch, and you could just do, whatever else on there too. There's all kinds of things. If you have a chloro and a bromo on there, the bromo would come before the chloro, all alphabetical. All right, the next ones that I want to do are going to be the aldehydes. Okay, the aldehydes are hydrocarbons that end in CHO. Now, we write it CHO, and it's really simple to recognize an aldehyde because it will say CHO on the end of it. So for the structural formula, I put R, CHO. Okay? And we write it CHO, but it really doesn't look like that. In reality, it looks like this. But you can see whereas, you're putting this in some type of a document, it's going to be a pain to try and put the double bond, the O up, and then the electrons around it. So instead of writing it like that, we just say CHO. So it's a great indicator that you have an aldehyde. So for an aldehyde, how you're going to name it is you're going to name the chain. Minus the E plus AL. Aldehydes AL. Just remember it that way. And they literally will look like that. There's a CHO on the end of it. Aldehydes, CHOs. Okay? Just remember that the C is not bonded to the H and the H is not bonded to the O. It really looks like this. Okay? So this counts as one of your carbons. So it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 5-carbon chain, and a 5-carbon chain is a pentane. Get rid of the E and put the AL on it. So pentanal. Okay? Now, since it's always on the end, you can easily recognize it. You never have to put a number with it because it's always on the first carbon. So it would be redundant to say a 1-CHO, okay, or a 1-pentanal because you already know it's on the end carbon. It always gets to be number 1. So I could do things like this. and put, I don't know, another methyl group right here. So this still is going to be number 1, so it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's a 4-methyl pentanal. It always gets to be number 1. Even if I put a chlorine down here, it gets to be number 1. Because chlorine, we can put as a prefix, but the aldehyde is a suffix. Okay? These are very simple too. And then you could do all the craziness. I will never give you an aldehyde with any kind of a multiple bond. Because a multiple bond and an aldehyde are both suffixes, and we're not going to get into those. It's way too much. All right, so is everyone okay with this? All right, then the last one that we're going to do is going to be alcohols. Alcohols are going to be hydrocarbons that have an OH. So an OH. These work the same exact way as the other ones. This one you don't have to have a number with. This one you have to have a number. This one you also have to have a number. You have to say where the OH is. Okay, and what are they going to end in? You're going to name the carbon chain. Minus the E plus OL. Aldehydes are AL, alcohols are OL. So I could have something like this. Okay, so let's say I have that. Count them for you. Again, I know it's hard from when you're sitting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm counting which direction?
Doesn't matter.
Right to left. Okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's an oct. And on the 4th carbon is the alcohol. So it's going to be a 4-octanol. Okay. The tricky one on this one, it's kind of strange if you have a double one. Okay, so let's say I have that. I think I did 9. So what do I have 2 of? 2 alcohols. So when we had 2 double bonds, what did we say? Di what? 2 double bonds. Diene. So now we have to say it's a diol. Because OL says it's an OH, and I have 2 OHs, so it's a diol. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's an NONADIOL. Now this one's a little different when you have to put that D in there, because NONANE, it kind of is funky, but it's going to be a nonadiol, and then we have to say where they are, and they're on 2, 4. So 2, 4 nonadiol. And I won't take off if you got the extra AN in there. The only other thing that I need to go over with the alcohols is if you have an alcohol an alcohol sort of is the lowest of functional groups. So it also can be named another way, and it can be named as hydroxyl. So if another functional group exists, then you're going to name it as a hydroxyl. Hydroxyl. What's OH?
Hydroxide.
Hydroxide. So just like we did with meth, we made it methyl, ethyl, propyl. Now we're going to name it as a branch, and a branch always gets a YL. For those of you who are going to be taking science in college, you have to take a whole quarter of organic, okay? An entire quarter. And it's not just naming, it's synthesizing this stuff. What two things can I put together to make a different type of organic, okay? So if you're thinking about majoring in some kind of a science, you're going to have organic, okay? That's why we cover it. Yes?
What do you mean like a functional?
Okay, I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so let's say I have this CH3, CH2. Hold on, give me 1 second to finish my thought here. Okay, so let's say we have this. So I have two things going on in this one, right? I've got this triple bond in here, and I have an OH. And a triple bond is an ending, right? It's a YNE ending, and an alcohol is an OL ending. So I've got two functional groups in there. Well, I told you that this is low on the list of functional groups. So I use the triple bond to say, use as the suffix, and I use this as a, I use this one as a hydroxyl. Is that what you're going to tell me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So it's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 carbon chain. So it's a hep, and it's a triple bond, so it's a heptyne. And it's on the 1, 2, 3 carbon, so it's a 3 heptyne, and it's a 1, 2 hydroxyl. So it's a 2 hydroxyl. So if there is another functional group, then that also has an ending that you would be using, you have to just switch the alcohol to be in a hydroxyl, which is a branch. We have carboxylic acids, ketones, esters, ethers. We have 4 more, guys. 4 more things to name. I think that's all. Is that right?
Today or just?
Oh, we have amines.
No.
We have amines,
Oh, I'm saying
esters, ethers, carboxylic acids,
So 5. I
and
think.
ketones. We have 5 more to name.
Oh wow.
Your test is going to be on Thursday. Thursday. Okay? Which leaves us Monday. I got 5 more to name. I'm probably, I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe taking your Thursday study hall, Thursday lab, and putting it on Wednesday so that I can make sure that we have a review the day before the test, and then just do a Thursday class. Is that going to kill anyone? If I tell you in enough, probably? Okay. It's a present, it's a Christmas present to myself if that happens. So, can you get that off tape for me? If I tell